My name is Marty Nichols. I use they, them, and he, him pronouns. You can find me on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram. Uh, I hope I'm not forgetting another one, as Glassless Martini, or as much as that name fits into the copy paste bar,
Mhm.
because on Twitter it doesn't fit. So it's Glassless Marty with an I. And then you can find me on Facebook. My Facebook page is Black Cat Creates. And that's kind of like my business artwork and stuff like that. So like it has painting prints, and it does show my old commission sheet. I need to update it, but you can find me through there.
So you say you kind of been drawing since the first grade, is that right?
Yes, that's when it kind of first hit me of I really like artwork. I'm not gonna stop.
Okay. So did you take classes to get better, or how did you improve yourself? Or how do you continue to improve yourself?
So one of the first things is practice, and don't discourage yourself about like your artwork compared to others, because comparing yourself to others is BS. It's only gonna bring you down,
Hmm.
and it's unfair to yourself and the other artists, because you you can't compare something that aren't alike, because you only can compare yourself to yesterday, as I say. But I did take lessons in the start, like first grade through fourth grade. I was taking art lessons with someone who's a family friend, because I just needed that energy out, and I needed to have that sort of little bubble around me of, okay, this is how artwork works. And then I started to want to escape that bubble. And so, and there was some problems with me being instructed. I don't really like people telling me what to do. I'm very much, I do it my way, leave me alone.
Right.
And so I got out of that bubble around fourth or fifth grade. And now it's just I will do studies, like you do body studies or hair studies, in which you just look at an image and you try to do it the best you can, or you look at how something is structured and you see how like muscles are put together, so you understand how like an arm can bend and what muscles would bulge at different points, and like how fingers would work in a position, because like you can say, oh, the fingers are like this, but this isn't really natural. Like this is much more natural, or something like this. And so it's kind of like a play up of, okay, what do I want to focus on? And then how much time do I want to spend on it? Because you can spend hours on a study, but
Yeah.
you still don't, like, your mind isn't really into it like the last half hour if you aren't like ready to just sit down and be like, okay, I want to draw abs for an hour.
Yeah. So do you create something every night, or you just kind of it comes and goes?
um I am one of those artists who will pick up my motivation and then drop it again. And so like I'll get a little bit done one day, and the next day I'll get like three pieces out.
Yeah.
It really just ranges about like how my mental state is working with it, because I do face mental illnesses like anxiety and depression, and possibly bipolar. I'm not sure, I haven't been diagnosed, but there are signs of it. And of course hormonal mood swings, because I'm still a growing child.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Do you think you found your style? And when I ask that question, I mean, like, if we see a Michelangelo piece, we kind of know that Michelangelo did it. Do
Yeah.
we know when we see a Marty piece or a Martini piece, do we know, you know, that it's you? Do you have your flair, your style, yet your signature?
I would like to say you would. I kind of found my inspiration with manga, And so it kind of has a manga-esque style, but it's still a lot more Americanized. And so I would like to say, if you see my piece of artwork, you would know it's me.
What kind of music or movies do you listen to, and does that kind of influence your art?
Um, I watch a lot of animated movies, like Disney movies, or like a good live action remake of something. And music, I grew, my dad is a 70s baby. He is heavily into rock, and so I grew up like a 70s baby with classic rock and jazz. Although I did get into country because of a babysitter who would constantly play country. And so my parents were like, "Why are you into country? This is so weird. I don't like country." And I'm like, "I love country."
Right,
So
right.
I'll listen to a good country song.
Okay. Wow.
And I can see it influencing my art for sure. I don't know where, but I definitely can see it influencing my art.
And how much has your art evolved since first grade? I mean, obviously in first grade you're probably drawing well, in first grade I was drawing stick figures. So I
I was
don't
drawing stick figures too, don't worry.
so, to kind of take me through that evolution to where you are now, like are you much more detailed now, or what can you capture that you weren't able to capture then?
So, really, in first grade, what I did that kicked it was a little pyramid that I drew, and it was like a really simple pyramid of like a very basic brick texture, and it was
Mm-hmm.
all the same texture. There was no depth to it really. And so now with like when I do draw buildings, I definitely can see a texture to it and depth. And so my perspective has definitely increased. Um, I definitely look a lot more realistic than what I used to. Like way back then, you could tell that, oh, I'm drawing a person, but you're kind of like, every person looks the same.
Yeah.
Like the
Mm.
hairstyle's different, but every person is the same. You got same face syndrome.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now I definitely have been able to change up and put different people as different people. And definitely with like my more animalistic artwork, you can definitely tell that it's more anatomy, and words are hard, but they're more anatomically correct than what
Yes.
have used to been. Like they no longer have like weird noodle arms. Now you can see that, oh, here's the elbow, here's the wrist, here's the shoulder that's thicker than maybe around the wrist and forearm and stuff like that.
Yeah. I know for me, whenever I kind of started just kind of messing around, fingers, hands, and eyes and facial features were like always the hardest things for me to grasp. Is that true? Would that be the same for everybody it's about?
I would say so, yes. So like hands are still incredibly hard. What I do with some pieces, I take pictures of my own hands and like trace over the basic shape. And mind you, my hands might be completely different from the character, and so you just get that basic shape or like the structure,
Yeah.
and you're able to work around it. And face, I have a very big um don't draw the second eye syndrome. Like to the point of uh like I was drawing a character and I'm like, I really don't want to draw the second eye. So I put a mouth there instead of a second eye. I just
Okay.
put a big old mouth.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I
But
get you.
I
I
could
get you.
totally see that.
Yeah, because I've done it a couple of times too. Like instead of drawing the face, like I draw a mask, right? Or like, draw like big sunshades or something like. So I definitely
Yeah.
understand. Yeah. So how did you get into the knitting, to crocheting different stuffed animals?
So the knitting came from my grandmother. We were at her mother's funeral, and I want to say it was like second grade, so it was like a year after my art already kicked in.
Hmm.
And so she taught me to knit while over there, and I'm guessing it probably gave her a little bit of relief from, oh, my mom has passed away. We're burying her remains, and so she was able to teach knitting to me, and I dropped it for several years after that because I'm like, I just don't have the motivation for it. I'm kind of focused on my friends who all want to go outside and draw with chalk on the ground or go out on the swing set in the back and scream out our lungs.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then I picked it back up and I realized, oh, I remember how to knit. And so I just continued to knit. And at first it was just like scarves, like just scarves, just constantly scarves, because I didn't know there's multiple stitches you have to learn to do something like a stuffed animal. And I didn't know any of the stitches. And so I was just sitting there making pretty much what you first do. And then I kept getting books from her of how to knit different things. And so eventually I just picked it up and went, okay, I want to learn. My first thing was a bunny rabbit. I want to learn how to knit this bunny rabbit because she had just knit me the same bunny rabbit with some pretty yarn that I had.
Hmm.
And so I was like, okay, I want to make one as well. And so I just sat down, Googled how to do the other stitches as they came up, and then I moved on from that. So now I have octopuses, there's a giraffe, there's bees, there's more bunnies, there's Pikachu.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So
No.
just went on like that.
If you had to choose between zoology and art, because you're double majoring now, which one would you choose? Like both of them are going to give you a respectable career, or
Yeah.
you can pay your bills with either one of them. Which one would you choose?
I think I would, oh, excuse me.
Hmm.
I think I would probably go with art because I do want to increase my skill and I do want to be seen as a real quote unquote artist. Real artists are able to take a pause in their artwork or be slow with creating their own personal pieces and stuff like that. But it's kind of like society doesn't want to think about that. They're like, oh, artists are people who constantly work on their artwork and they don't get drop in motivation and they want to just have them pump out as many pieces of it as they possibly can. And then the downside to that is there's people who go around going, oh, well, artwork is something I can do by myself. I can do it at home. Why is it so expensive? Why should I try and commission you for this? And it's like, artwork isn't something you're entitled to. It's definitely like a luxury item. Like you don't need a painting in your home. What you need in your home is food. And so food is going to be cheaper than painting because you need food in your system to live. You don't need that painting to live. It might make your place feel warmer and stuff like that, but you don't need it. And so uh people will see it that way. And I want to try and, just like many other more my generation and millennial artists are trying to get forward, is art is a luxury item. Stop treating it like you need it. Pay your artists what they ask for. You're not in charge of how they feel of it. And so with art, I definitely would go with the art so then I can be like, hey, I'm a quote unquote certified artist. This is how you should treat other artists, even if they don't have that certification that you see I have. I just have it because I love it and I want to do more with my artwork. Others don't have to. Others can pick up a paintbrush with no knowledge behind them and have fun with it. Like, don't be like, oh, you need to have this and that. You only can have more of this and that if you have this. And it's like, no, just leave artists alone. If you like their artwork, then support them.
Absolutely, absolutely. How has COVID affected your place in the world?
Um, it's well for digital and like my networking online, it has definitely helped it because more people are online than most likely than ever before. They're trying to get some form of outside world connection within their home. And so people are able to see my artwork more frequently and pass by my page more often versus, say, 2 years ago, and people were still like out there going to art galleries instead, in which it definitely has affected that part. Art galleries are far few between now with people going in because of COVID, and there's limits to how many people can go in, and there's all these precautions of like new pieces coming in of like, oh, is it on the surface? Do we have to wait a while with it? And
Mm-hmm.
also just shutting down entirely because back in April, before lockdowns, I was meant to hang up some of my paintings in a local cafe,
Hmm.
but then COVID came down and it wasn't there any the opportunity wasn't there anymore. The cafe is still there, and I think they still do pick up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it doesn't have the opportunity of, hey, hang your artwork here and we'll like have a little card that says how to contact you if they're interested in buying the painting or whatnot.
Yeah, well, I think you have a good point that now there's kind of like an influx of people or more people online and doing more online observations of things and more particularly artwork. Have you been able to collab with anybody at all? Any singers, dancers, other artists?
Um, I have collabed with other artists. One of my best friends lives over in the Netherlands, and we collab with artwork a lot. We also give each other artwork, or like, hey, can you draw this for me? Yeah, come watch me do it. And then there was also a big thing in one of the servers I am for a podcast creator. Um, we all suddenly had the same idea of let's create something together. And so what we did was we had one person do sketches, and then we handed the sketches like basically to the left. You do the line work, pass it again to the left, you do the coloring. And that was really fun.
Yeah. What demographic has been drawn to your work, would you say?
Um,
Younger, older, male, female, what?
I wouldn't know behind gender. Um, I would say uh younger, but not like younger than 18. Like
Okay.
I would say more of like a young adult age.
Yeah.
I've had a few older, of course, pop in and like give a like or comment something,
Mhm.
but definitely would say like young adults. And I don't know how much you know about it, but the furry community.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw you have the on your link tree, it's fur affinity. Is that what it is?
Yes, for affinity, in
Yeah.
which it's pretty much just for furry creators. Like you could have music, you could have podcasts or scripts or artwork from physical to digital.
I guess from a legal perspective, are you copywriting some of your stuff or what
Uh
are you doing with that?
for me, I have a big old messy signature on all my pieces.
Okay.
And so I think soon I'm gonna start doing what one of my friends does, which is they put their signature like 5 different times.
Yeah.
Uh, once like after the commissioner gets it, they put their signature on it like 5 different times in different areas. So then, because there is a lot of art theft, especially digitally, because people think, oh, once it's out in the internet, it's no longer yours. It's now the internet's. No,
Right.
you can't go to a musician and say, "Hey, now that you played that song's mine." You can't do that. That's still the musician's song. You still have to pay credits or pay legal fees and royalties for playing that song for money, especially.
Mhm.
And it's like you can't do that. Why would you think this is any different than another thing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, are you able to create like PNG files with what you draw or vector files so that I don't want to say manipulate it, but so that I can copy and paste it to different places? Or like how when you deliver it, is that available to me in that
Uh
format?
yes, I should start emailing my commissioner them, but I have .pngs of every file, and I have cloud files of it, because as a PNG you can't save like different layers, and so I will have either on my cloud or in my a works in progress folder, I will have a version in which it is done, but it is as layers instead of just one flat thing. And it'll be huge, but it's worth it to save it, because if someone goes, "Oh, I just removed your watermark. I removed your signature. It's mine now." I'm like, "No, you don't. You can't say that. I have the actual progress of everything saved right here. Please take that down."
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask a very open-ended question here, so you can interpret the question any way you want to. But does an artist kind of fill in the blank? Does an artist have a responsibility to, and then fill in the blank?
A responsibility to, and then it's just a blank.
Yeah, like for example, like if I guess if I were asking answering the question, I might say like, or like for a podcaster, right? Like I think it's my responsibility to be unbiased prior to and during interviewing my guest.
Mm.
Singers might say, well, it's always, it's my responsibility to, sing my best, or there's, social issues. So I'm saying like, as an artist, is it your responsibility to always be yourself as you're drawing? You can kind of fill in the blank however you'd like to.
Um, I think, at least for me personally, I think it's an artist's responsibility to be moral. Like there's a big thing going on of fact, not fact, fiction versus reality, and how you can do anything with fiction. It doesn't affect reality, when in fact it does affect reality. And so being moral with your pieces, like as any artistic thing like writing or artwork or audios, it should be moral. Like you shouldn't dive into like incest and pedophilia and just child stuff. You shouldn't dive into that. Like I understand if it's a therapy piece, but you keep that to yourself, because by showing it, by showing these immoral things out in the public, is kind of giving those people who are enjoying it a thing of, oh, well, see, I'm seeing it around a lot, therefore it's acceptable, therefore I should go do it.
Hmm.
When no, it might be a therapy piece, or someone's thought might be, it's just fiction, it's not a real character, it's not a real person, it's perfectly fine if I do it. But the person who's wanting to do it is thinking, oh, it's just another person, I can do it to another person because it's socially acceptable. When
Hmm.
no, you can get in huge trouble and it's traumatic for the other person or other thing, because there's also zoophilia and stuff like that. And I just don't personally agree with it. Go ahead, have your mindset, but I'm going to tell you now, I'm not going to I want someone around me who has the same morals. And so I'm sorry if I remove you or I block you. I don't want that around me because it makes me completely uncomfortable. And so you curate who you want to be around. I'm going to curate who I want to be around. But I am going to warn people, hey, they're into that stuff. If you're not into it either, like I am, don't be around them.
Yeah. You know, I never thought of those things, and I think that was a great answer. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is your piece that you really adore? Like, oh, I really like this piece that I created, whether it's knitting or whether it's drawing or painting.
Um, it's this one painting. I recently like remade it because like some of the like detailing with the grass wasn't as good as how I want it to be, and it looked like flat. It didn't have many dimensions. I really love to paint water, like waterfalls or streams and stuff like that, and so it's it is a little like hillside bank, and to the right it has like a pile of rocks and water is flowing down over it, and there's a little river in front of it, and there's a tree, and there's mountains in the background. And I think that one so far has been my favorite because of the water feature and like the way that it looks natural. It doesn't look like a child did it, but they had some art skill. It looks natural. There's water spray, it's the right color and stuff like that. And it just makes me happy looking at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, tell me who you were like in the first grade, second grade, it's from a person perspective. And then tell me who you are now. Like, tell me, kind of walk me through that evolution of who Marty or Martini is now.
So in the first grade, I would say I was a lot more timid. I was very much an introvert. My close friends were my close friends. I believed everyone around me was my friend. I didn't experience bullying yet, and so I didn't know like some people could just be mean to be mean. And so my mindset was, oh, everyone's my friend. I want to have as many friends as possible. They're all really cool. And I want to be around them constantly. I want to hang out with them. Like, these few people are really, really amazing, and I want to be around them more, but I want to be around everyone. And Marty now definitely has seen that not everyone can be your friend. There are just some people who decide, I'm gonna be an asshole to be an asshole. I'm just gonna be here and bully you for no reason. I don't know you. I'm just gonna bully you. Another thing that has changed is I'm trans. So I am non-binary, but I go by they, them, and he, him. And so that's another thing that has very much changed. In first grade, I had no idea like how gender affected me and stuff like that. And now I'm like, okay, female is out of the picture. That doesn't feel comfortable. But being called he, him, or handsome, and they, them, and androgynous stuff by loved ones and friends, I'm sitting there going, my heart feels happy, I feel whole, and I'm very much more extroverted now. I'm not completely like out there, but I am much more now, and definitely have a little bit less of the everyone's my friend sort of thing. But as my mother jokes, I can make a friend at the drop of a hat.